morning, historian Tessa Dunlop. Very good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
You're going to kick us off with this is a great image, isn't it? This is from the FT, isn't it? And this is all about Barcelona, Catalonia, and the events that have been unfolding there.
The sand timer is running out. This is Mr. Puigdemont, the outsider nobody thought would be successful, the leader of Catalonia, the man who instigated and really ran what was ultimately, in the face of huge resistance in Spain, in a way a successful illegal referendum. But of course, he now has to pick or chart his course very, very carefully. He obfuscated like anything last week. He said, OK, now we have the Independent Republic, which I'm temporarily suspending for talks. He has to make some kind of clarification of that position on Monday. What's interesting about this kind of nationalist zeitgeist we're seeing breaking out all over the shop, particularly in Europe, of course, is that it's not similar situations, but the nationalist kind of movement in Scotland and Nicola Sturgeon's response to Catalan has been very coded. Because she's emphasised that, you know, in Scotland's case, it's always been very legal precedent that was set with Salmond and Cameron, the deal, the Edinburgh Accord, and what happened was the constitutionally agreed first Indie referendum. But actually, where next? At her conference this week, she said, what kind of a nation do we want to be? A heckler said, an independent one. You know, the cry for the rallying cry, the guys that are pushing the Sturgeon and the Puigdemonts have one goal and one goal alone. And lest we think it's just Scotland and Catalonia, the Brexit vote was a vote for English nationalism, just because there's not an English parliament to give that an expression. So you have England against Brussels, you have Scotland against Westminster, you have Catalonia against Madrid. But where does it leave the other half? Because I think generally most of these nations are split. Where does it leave the other half who don't just take their national identity from one place? So if you're Scottish and British, or if you're Catalonian and Spanish, and I don't think in this current world where we're seeing rigid definitions of nationalism, you can really be both anymore. Where does it leave us? So this man and what he does next is critical, not just for Catalonia, but I think for movements across Europe.
Let's talk about Trump and Iran. Very, very clear reaction from the UK, Germany and France. May, Merkel and Macron opposing his refusal to ink this deal with Iran.
That's right. He, throughout his campaign, and one thing we've got to say for Trump is he generally tries to hold his word in terms of what he says he's going to do and then what he tries to action. And he has said this is a weak deal, this is a bad deal. This, of course, was a deal struck by Obama in 2015 with a series of other world leaders to kind of bring Iran into the world community. And Trump has very definitely said, no, I want to stick Iran back out in the cold. I want to keep a beady eye on it. It's a kind of, you know, there's no carrot, there's just stick here. But what's interesting for those of us who think, oh, thank goodness Macron and May and Merkel are together and chatting, lest we forget, and I've just checked this online, America spends £601 billion a year on its military. It has more military capacity than the other next 9 countries put together. So this man has extraordinary power, you know, beyond his tweets, okay, and his big talk. He has real power. So it's extremely important that we don't just keep Iran in conversation, but that we keep Trump in conversation.
Well, does that mean you have to appease Trump?
I'm not a world leader. Doesn't mean we have to appease Trump, but we need. Britain always played a very effective role, I believed, within the EU, being a bridge, that conversational bridge between America and Europe. And I really hope that we get back on track and somehow manage we need to find a way of communicating with this man, because we've got North Korea, we don't want an Iran, we don't want America to go off on their own. Luckily, of course, there is big opposition to Trump in America, which holds him back, Congress and all the great democratic institutions in that nation. But just lest we're forgotten, he's the commander-in-chief of the biggest arsenal in the world.
And one way to build bridges is to be more mindful. And it's a phrase now we're more used to, isn't it? Mindfulness.
Yeah,
you can be taught mindfulness, can't you?
You can. Actually, you can do it right now on the live show, Charlie. The reason I'm mentioning this is because in The Guardian today, there is going to be a House of Commons world first, where international leaders from all over the world, including a Democratic politician who's so freaked out by Trump's tweets, he started doing mindfulness. And they're all getting together in the House of Commons from all over the world to just take a bit of time. To quote him,
Are
he
they going
says-
to do the moves? Are they
Yes,
actually going
they
to do
are.
the...
Now, I'm not going to get you to lie down, but you can just sit and do it. So you sit with a straight back, shoulders relaxed, both feet on the floor.
Charlie, you're going to be this man.
Eyes
gentleman with the beard.
closed.
Okay, you need to follow instructions.
And
maybe.
you need to just focus on your breath going in and out. I'm not sure it's terribly interesting television. And luckily, Charlie, you're not a world leader with a vast arsenal at your fingertips.
No.
But if you could just
It's a good
focus
job for
on,
everyone, isn't it?
on your breath. And apparently, Tory and Labour MPs believe that this breathing under the
Which is, so name an MP, which is the MP you're most looking forward to seeing in the mindful position?
Well, don't. That's so cruel. Because immediately Boris
Because
Johnson...
some are known as being more,
I feel that, he pretends he jogs. The camera's always on him when he jogs. But I feel something a little steadier for Boris Johnson wouldn't do any harm, would it? If we could just pull his legs up, get him on the sofa, close his eyes and get him... If he could just focus only on his breathing, he might then focus on what he says.
When's this happening?
When is it? I think
happening
it's this
tomorrow.
week.
Is it tomorrow?
Is it tomorrow?
Next
I should know.
week.
It's
Tuesday.
next week.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday. They're going to meet on Tuesday and they're going to be led in a series of meditations.
But the sad news is I don't see Boris Johnson in the lineup. That's unfortunate.
He'll be busy that day.
Could you imagine Corbyn and Boris next? Because often you meditate together, don't you? It could be quite powerful.
I think I'm quite looking forward to that image on Tuesday. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, we'll be reporting it on Wednesday, I'm sure.
We're done now. That's
Are we?
all
Okay.
our time gone. Thank you so
I had
much.
another hurricane for you. Batten down the hatches.
Yeah, but we're finishing on the calm, aren't we? We're
Yeah.
finishing
Oh, that's
on,
true.
on the calm
Nice.
Yes.
before the storm. As it were.
Woosah. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Headlines coming up.